Have you ever taken a close look at a sheep's eyes, rectangular pupils? They say they always stay parallel to the ground. I took my first close look when I was 12, and saw it was true. I used to live in Wyoming with my family when I was a kid. We ran a ranch for a living until it was sold 3 years ago. Like most kids who grew up on a ranch, I had a favorite animal during my childhood. I should mention that I didn't have a favorite until I was 12. I knew clearly in my mind that all of them would eventually be sold, or even slaughtered. To keep myself from getting depressed, I learned how to shut off my feelings, even though I still had to care for them. For example, when I fed the calves, some of them might timidly rub their furry heads against my palm. I would just stand still and imagine how they might die, and I know those are the kinds of dark thoughts a middle school kid shouldn't have. Things had changed after I met Mona. Mona was a lamb with white, soft, curly wool who suddenly showed up on our ranch one morning. At first, we thought she might belong to one of our neighbors, but no one claimed her after we put out the lost lamb notice, so we kept her, let her stay on the ranch with the other sheep and animals, just like she belonged there. I knew I loved her the first time I saw her. I spent my after-school hours combing her wool, bragging to her, feeling her softness under my palms. Mona was different from the other animals on the ranch. The main reason I loved her was that she was brilliant, and there was a quiet, calm aura around her. It's hard to say whether that calm came from her intelligence, or the other way around. Mona was much smarter than any other animal on the ranch. She seemed to understand every gesture, every word from a human. Geez, is there a human soul living in that sheep? That was my brother's favorite joke the first night Mona showed up. In contrast to her intelligence, Mona showed almost no interest in physical needs. Mona didn't eat, at all. Her body shrank rapidly. Her fat and muscles seemed to wither faster than time itself during that first week. We noticed there were no teeth growing in her mouth, which was highly abnormal for a lamb that looked at least half-year-old. We had checked that the first day. Even my experienced rancher parents couldn't explain it. So we quietly agreed it was some kind of deformity. My mother tried feeding her sheep milk from a ewe. Mona refused to open her mouth, acting as if the sheep milk in the bottle were poison. Maybe it was frightened by the strange environment. That's why it keeps refusing to drink milk, my mother said while driving me home from school, answering my question about Mona. But it's been a while since she got here, right? What could have scared her that badly? My mother tapped her fingers on the steering wheel. I'm not sure, honey. But animal cubs can be fragile, just like human babies. Have you tried giving her other food? Sweetie, it doesn't have any teeth. That means it can't chew grass or silage. She turned to face me, her left cheek glowing red under the traffic light above. I could tell she took a deep breath before saying, "Sweetie, it might not be lucky enough to survive the week." Then she suddenly raised her tone, trying to distract me from that cruel fate. "So, how was your day at school?" Silence soaked the air. We let it take us in. As the ranch gate came into view, I tossed my bag out the window and jumped off the truck immediately. My mind dragged my legs toward Mona. I kept worrying about her the whole time, yelling at myself inside to stop imagining how she might die. She was lingering among the flock, her frame too fragile to stand against the breeze. But when I came closer, I realized she wasn't moving at all, just standing there, staring at the others, nothing reflected in her amber eyes. Those thin, flat pupils focused on everything and nothing. Then Mona, the lamb, slowly turned her head toward me. She blinked, once, twice. She laid her chin in my palm, which suddenly felt heavier than air. Her rectangular pupils looked up at me, timid. My skin pressed against the snowy, fluffy little thing, and something gentle unfurled in my brain. I raised my arms around her neck and cradled her, humming a few words beneath my breath. The bony body felt like it had never existed. The fragile, translucent spirit reached out invisible tendrils, touching my hand, my wrist. It felt just like wool. A feeling burst in my mind, something I'd never felt so strongly for anyone, not even myself. But as I stared into Mona's eyes, I could tell, a bond existed between us. Quiet, sensitive. When I saw her standing still, apart from the others, I began to hallucinate. Maybe we could survive together. me and her, impossible. Liar. Boiled potatoes sat in my mouth when my brother said that. The bland flavor dragged all my words back down. Mom, you have to tell her. A lamb doesn't know if it wants to live or die. That's ridiculous. We have a responsibility to stop her from going paranoid. I'm not lying, and I won't go paranoid. And if I do, it'll be after I kill you. Molly, please, that's horrible. My mother finally said something, but Mom, she's still alive. We can't leave her struggling until the last few syllables never came. My father had already raised his eyes to me. I'm tired of this bullshit. It's just a fucking lamb, and it doesn't even belong to us. That's it. We'll end its life tomorrow morning. Now finish your fucking plate. My mother leaned toward me with a spoonful of chickpeas, her lips curled into a timid little arc. Honey, why not have some peas? You like them, right? I still remember your first dinner after you learned to use your little spoon, I said. I'm tired of this bullshit. This time, he didn't even lift his head. His knife sawed through the overcooked steak. Oil leaked out of it like something hemorrhaging. My mother twisted her torso, slowly and gently. The smile dropped as she moved. I don't think I even heard the spoon hit the plate when she let go. Without the spoon or any other utensils, her bare hands hovered above the edge of the wooden table, trembling and misplaced. My brother sat beside my father, smirking at me. His reward was a hard slap to the back of his head. I'm sorry, my mother murmured. They act like this with no respect. That's your fault, he growled. Food tasted worse when it lost its heat. I couldn't eat, so neither did my mother nor my brother. Pressure wrapped its hands around all three of our throats. The rest of the food went in the bin. I helped my mom rinse the plates in the soapy water at the sink. Why don't I take care of this, honey? You can go play with Mona if you want. She took the plate from me. The paleness from dinner still clung to her face. I left her in the kitchen and turned toward the stairs. I couldn't bear the thought that this might be the last night with the lamb. Beyond my window, the ranch stretched out, its edges melting into the starless dark. Silence hovered over the house, torturing me, until I finally fell asleep. The next morning, I was woken by my brother's scream. I bolted outside. A pool of scarlet made the lamb's mangled remains beside it even more horrific. Most of the guts were missing. What was left had clearly been torn by a predator. On his left, maybe its head, though I wasn't sure if any of the parts were still whole. My brother stood frozen, face twisted in terror. To his right, my father stood silently, trying to reclaim his temper with nicotine. Wolf? Right, Dad? There was a wolf outside our house. No, maybe more than one. My brother was freaking out. His stocky body shook so much it made me want to laugh, especially once I realized it wasn't Mona. Mona was still on the fringe of the flock, standing like she hadn't moved since yesterday when I held her. She turned her head slightly, as if to remind me she wasn't a statue. Her bony frame looked healthier than it had the day before, miraculously so, like she'd gained 20 pounds in 11 hours. The gentle breeze was no longer a threat. That's a weaned lamb, my father muttered after finishing his cigarette, nodding toward the corpse. My brother hadn't recovered. It was too much for a 13-year-old boy. I, however, didn't feel much at all. Nicotine wasn't enough. My father booted the mess of blood and flesh. Dried blood didn't make it harder to see what had happened. Do you even know how much that thing was worth to us? Let's have a fucking econ class. Jared, what's your answer? Tears swirled in my brother's eyes as he was called out. He clenched his teeth to keep the sobs from spilling, and if he hadn't, he would have looked even worse. Stop sniveling. Don't act like a pussy. I thought I had only one daughter, you, Molly. Your turn now. Let's see if you're as useless as he is. He grinned like a sadist. We still have Mona, the new lamb, I said. She might fetch $40 to $80 if she grows up. He narrowed his eyes. That old familiar menace returned. He didn't say a word. I knew I'd succeeded. Where's Mom? I asked, trying to redirect his focus away from me. There was no way she hadn't heard the noise. She was always hyper-aware of this kind of thing. That vicious bitch is in the bath. Wasting water in the morning. She'll make me pay the damn bill. She rarely bathed in the morning. My father marched back to the house, furious for no reason. My brother wiped his stray tears and followed. I crouched down, estimating the volume of what was left. I intended to dig a hole and bury the lamb. Its flesh had been torn and bitten. 2/3 of its skin was gone, the rest was shredded tissue. Its belly was nearly empty, gaping like a dark red mouth, silent, but still screaming after death. I glanced at the remains, wondering if the bones would poke through the grimy wool. I'd never noticed we had another sick lamb on the ranch. Even though I fed them every day after school, I suddenly had the urge to pry its mouth open, just to see if there were teeth, to prove it was just a normal lamb. Then I stood up, and Mona was right behind me. Her rectangular pupils gazed at me. After meeting my eyes, she bowed her head, as if asking me to stroke her. Like always, she showed no emotion toward the wreckage lying beneath her hooves. The same calm, tame expression remained, even though, just inches away, lay the corpse of her own kind. Did Mona lack the intelligence to mourn another of her breed? She shared my feelings toward the remains, or maybe it was just the way her wool pressed against my palm, silky and white, so soft it felt like it could melt into my skin. The inappropriate urge to check the wreckage's teeth faded. What was the point? My Mona had survived. She was still here. She needed me. Over the next week, Mona still ate nothing. But somehow, she didn't lose a single pound when my mother weighed the lambs. Maybe it just doesn't like to eat when you're around, my mother said as she drove me home from school that Friday. It'd rather spend time with you than waste it on food. My brother wasn't in the back seat that day. He'd gotten a ride from one of his friend's dads, probably out hanging with his friends. I could tell my mother felt relieved. She used to tell me I was her favorite, long before I blew out 7 candles on my birthday, like my brother didn't even exist. It confused me. If she loved me so much, why didn't she protect me? Wasn't that her job? I asked. Though the words came out in another form, Mom, where were you that morning? She knew I meant the morning my father was supposed to shoot Mona. Her fingers stopped tapping the steering wheel. When the light turned green, she pressed the accelerator a little too hard. I thought your father would have told you. Wind slipped through the cracked window, curling around our shoulders, teasing our hair. It lifted a few dark strands, just enough for me to notice the bruises beneath the old ones. Time had softened them, but the shape was the same, like fire-scorched branches pressed into her skin. If she were a tree, she had survived fire after fire. Mom, what happened? She avoided my eyes as the truck stopped in front of the house. That's adult stuff, Molly, she said. As I've always told you, I'm a grown-up. I can take care of myself. She repeated that last sentence, but softer this time. Then she turned to me, cupping my cheeks with both hands. Yeah. I can take care of me. And you, my sweetest child. I'll protect you and take care of you. I won't let anything hurt you. I have to make you feel happy and safe. Of course, I'm your mother. That's what I'm supposed to do. Her hands were shaking, her lips twitched. The words tangled as they came out, logic and emotion tripping over each other. She was more sensitive than usual. I can't be a mother. Why am I a mother? I never chose to be one. Is this just a nightmare? She was trembling, incoherent. Her face, so much like mine, had turned pale, as if something inside her was pumping all the blood out of her veins. Mom, look at me. I took a deep breath and wrapped my hand around hers. Her fingers were rough and cold. You're safe. Everything's okay. I can take care of you. I can protect you from him. Just give me a few years, I'll grow stronger, taller than Jared. I love you, Mom. Now try to breathe in and out. You can do it. Stay with me. In and out. Why must it be me, to live and breathe? That's what I meant to say. After a few deep breaths with me, her hands calmed down and dropped to her sides. Her upper body collapsed into the chair. I'm sorry, I heard her say gently. Why did you choose to marry him? I'd asked the same question many times since the first bruises appeared under her skin. I never chose to. That was the only answer she could give, but this time, she added, and your brother, too. He wasn't a choice either. I could only suppose that I wasn't like them. She rested her forehead on the steering wheel, her expression vague. My tongue pressed me to say something to distract her. But my courage faltered. I couldn't risk another panic attack or whatever the doctors call it these days. I mean, why didn't you leave? You could have gotten a divorce, right? But you didn't. And then you gave birth to me. I finally managed to speak. She raised her hand and placed it gently on the back of my head. I felt her fingers tangled in my hair, soft but dry, just like her voice. The world is complicated sometimes. I think this topic is too harsh for your age. Stop treating me like a child. But you are, she laughed, a flicker of a smile crossing her face. So don't worry about these things anymore. I'll handle them, for you and for myself. Just remember to grow up healthy and happy. I nodded, caught a wisp of smoke rising from the corner of my eye. I left the door open behind me and sprinted toward the ranch, where the smoke was coming from. My brother was there with some of his friends. They were seniors. I didn't know their names, which was lucky because I didn't care. Matches were in their hands. Burnt grass and wool had turned to charred ashes, falling lifelessly to the ground. One kid had a buzz cut. The dirty gold at the back of his head laughed malignantly at me, while his face was turned toward Mona. She was surrounded by them. Standing still in the center with her usual tranquility, Jared. What the fuck? I yelled, pushing through the gang. I was exposed to the sickening sight. The wool on her chest was partially charred. They were burning her with matches. One girl still held a lit match, the flame flickering just above her fingers. Jared? I heard my mother call. Mona was just fine, standing still and blinking at me as usual, like she didn't sense any danger from the heat of the matches. Fuck off, my brother said, his face eerily like our father's, the same brutal genes shaping his personality. Light its tail. Light its tail. The buzz-cut boy yelled excitedly to the girl. The girl giggled and approached Mona. I pushed Mona with both hands. She didn't move at all, though she felt heavier than 3 days ago, even if her body still looked the same to me. Don't do this, I demanded, glancing unconsciously at my mother striding toward us from the truck. I said, fuck off. He grabbed my collar and threw me away from Mona. Do it, Donna. I'm curious if it can still hold its silence. Jared. My mother shouted. The girl's giggling grew annoyed. I could barely breathe. Jared put me in a chokehold with his elbow. I kicked at his calves, but it seemed useless. She flicked a match at Mona's tail. I saw the flame fall, but the match didn't ignite the wool. Molly, get away from him. My mother shouted again. She stayed far from us. I didn't understand why until the next seconds. Flames devoured Jared's trousers, growing stronger as they spread and craved more. He lost his strength when he noticed the fire, giving me the chance to run away from the combustible mess. He jumped up and down, trying to put out the flames on himself. Donna, you're so stupid. You lit the fire on me. He complained and cried when he realized the flames crawling on him couldn't be extinguished. Donna was shaking, her expression twisted by confusion and shock. No, I didn't. I swear I tossed the matches at the lamb. The buzz-cut boy began screaming as Jared's skin started to burn beneath his clothes. I stepped back, watching the girl and boy try to put out the fire by tackling him and smacking the flames with their coats. Molly, do something, please. His face curled in pain as he reached toward where my mom and I stood. Mommy, please help. Molly, come here. I turned around. My mother was waving at me, forcing herself to stay calm. Her face had turned pale again, but I could still see the relief in it, as if my brother wasn't on fire, as if she had been waiting for this moment too long. Screaming became complicated. I turned back. The fire had spread. The girl and the boy were rolling on the ground. In the middle, my brother curled up, his body wrapped in orange flames. Mona stood nearby, eyes lowered like a saint opening her arms. She bowed her head, plucked something from the air above them, and began to chew. 2 rows of teeth, vaguely visible, but I was sure. The flames climbed onto her as she chewed, but she didn't flinch. She just kept going, like nothing had happened. My brother's cries faded. The heat stung my eyes, but I couldn't look away. Mona, chewing, swallowing, she stopped. Then suddenly looked up, and screamed. A boy's voice tore from her chest. My brother rolled again, now in silence. The other two followed, flailing like broken puppets, their feet above their heads, spines snapped into sharp angles. The stench of burning flesh twisted my stomach. I almost vomited. A warm hand covered my eyes. Soap lingered in the scent. It trembled. Don't look. Just think about how much I love you, Molly. Her voice shook. She gripped my shoulder with the other hand, heavier now, tighter. Her dry voice sounded like a lullaby from hell. Silence settled over the ranch again. The burning smell clung to the air, lifeless. Not enough, the boy's voice said, as if his throat was choked by someone else. My mother let go of me. A child stood in front of me. They grinned as their rectangular pupils locked onto my fear. Their skin was completely charred. Naked, the malnourished body was all bone and ash, like a skeleton escaped from some lab. At their feet, another lamb's wreckage. I like when you brush my wool, Molly. Please keep doing that for years. Behind me, my mother's voice cracked higher than usual, like fingernails pathologically clawing a blackboard. No. The kids smirked at her. Any recommendations for my appetite? They asked. Don't. I knew she was having a panic attack again. Don't. She trembled. Take her. Please, release me. I never wanted to be a mother. Please. I never chose this. She cried out, and pushed me forward. I couldn't tell how I felt. I didn't have the courage to look her in the eyes, like I was the one who should be ashamed. Ashamed that even my mother didn't want me. That my birth was just another mistake. My father's at home, I heard myself say. Upstairs. The woman was still sobbing. See you later, I guess, the child said, poking my nose with a charred finger. This time, they sounded like a girl. What are you doing? This post was supposed to go up this morning. But I got interrupted. Don't use my father's voice with that face. It's disgusting. I muttered. Not fair, kid. You still call me Mona, even though I'm not an innocent lamb anymore. She shot back, but her voice shifted again, dry now, like parchment crackling in heat. I rolled my eyes and looked up. Mona paced to the counter, picking up the folded newspaper someone had left like a bad joke. Her dark hair hung beside her cheek, covering part of a face that looked like mine. Where were you? I asked. In the yard, she said. I just can't shake these ranch habits. No. No more chickens. Mona blinked slowly. Her rectangular pupils narrowed on me. Come on, she said. Mommy can take care of all of it. She opened her arms to me. I rolled my eyes again, but still stepped into the hug. I leaned into her. Her body was warm, and slowly, it was assimilating me. Maybe a lamb this time, she hummed, like a lullaby.